ENCO library. The first of which is by using the CD ripper. So what you're looking at here is the ENCO home screen from one of the voiceover booths in the off-air production area. So what I need to do, also when you start this, the screen might look like this. So in order to access the menu of things for ENCO, you have to hit this up arrow button. And in order to add music from a CD, I need to be first looking at the library here. So this is my standard library screen for the automation system, and currently I'm looking at the alternative currents folder. So this is everything, all the audio cuts that are contained inside there. So what I want to do is add a particular track from a CD that has been approved and is FCC compliant. Made sure of all that stuff first, so I just want to add it into this particular category. I do that by, on the bottom section of the library of these buttons, I'm going to add something. So I hit the add button. And here's my selection. Well, I can add some rotate cuts or command cuts, lots of different things. I'm looking to add something from the CD ripper, so that's my selection. This is what the CD ripper looks like. And one of the things that you should know based on our music submissions is the ones that come from a more established record label will more than likely have the necessary metadata, meaning track length and album titles, artists and song titles, all that stuff should be imported automatically. You see here I've got titles for the tracks and everything like that. All that should come in automatically, but that's only if that stuff was provided by the artist. So since we play lots of independent, alternative, and underground music, and that's where our submissions come from, sometimes those are not here, and we'll have to, all these categories here will be blank, and we'll have to add those things ourselves. But in this case, I know that I want to add the song South of Reality into the alternative currents folder. So I can make a selection on an individual cut here, or if I knew I wanted to add an entire album, I could just hit the main check mark here, and that will select all of them. Or if I want to deselect those, I would hit that button there. In this case, I know I just want this one particular song, South of Reality, so that's the one I will select. I see the title there of what is currently selected up here, so that's the name of the song. That's good. Some of the other things that I want to do before I can actually get to ripping this is I want to set the group, so alternative currents. That's where I want it to go, and that should be reflected here. Also, these are sort of automatically filled for us. The Claypool Lennon Delirium is the artist name, and then South of Reality is the album. And it gives me a genre, and I can, of course, change any of these things here and now, or I can wait and modify those things later. Just a few more things before we get going. I want to normalize this cut as it's imported. That basically means that anything that I import, as long as I check this box, it's going to sort of maximize loudness for everything that I import so that they're all relatively consistent in volume. That's really helpful, so the radio station, so as an audience person, you don't have to crank up the volume in your car when you hear one song and then turn it down when you get blasted away by the next song. If we normalize all the cuts that we import, it's going to eliminate that issue. I have the option to rip all to a single cut, so I could say take this entire album, select this box, and then when I import them, it will sort of converge all the individual audio clips into one long album cut. That's not necessarily the case that I'm going for here, and I find myself rarely using this. The other thing here is Insta-Trim, and I always leave that checked. What this does is if there is silence at the beginning and end of an audio track, it's going to say, well, let's just trim out that audio silence. So I'm going to trim anything on the beginning and end of an audio cut that is less than 17 decibels. So that's a pretty easy way to sort of make sure that we're not importing all that silence, so we can avoid having dead air on the radio station. Okay, so a couple other things I need to make sure happen, and that is my cut ID. I'm always going to hit this cut ID button and choose next of all groups. So that's going to allow me to assign a cut number to this audio track I want to import without, say, overwriting something that already exists and without having to choose something totally random. So you see it bumped it up just one because a different song had been previously imported at the other number. So it just bumped it up to the next one, and that's great. The final thing I have to do before I begin ripping is update my selection. And you'll see some changes here in these parameters. When I hit update selection, that one audio track that I've selected to be imported now has a cut ID, and it has like the technical audio information about what format this is going to be, and all that stuff. So at this point, I'm ready to begin ripping. So I'll just hit the begin ripping button, and you'll see that there's a progress bar that begins here and starts working through this. And then in the upper left-hand corner of the CD ripper window, you'll see what action is actually happening. First, it's going to rip, then it's going to normalize, and then it's going to process. So you'd really see that this progress bar go through 3 different times for each audio cut. So this does require some patience, and it takes a little bit of time, but it's a great way to get all that material from CD into ENCO. So using some video tutorial magic, we're going to skip over this process, and I'll be able to show you exactly how this ended up in the library. And there you saw this little window pop up here. That's an audio conversion tool. ENCO only likes to play certain kind of audio files that are of a certain sample rate and a certain file type. So what we can do is import things in, and the conversion tool will automatically kick in and convert those things for us. So now all I have to do is look in my alternative currents folder, which I currently am looking at, and then find the song South of Reality from the Lennon Claypool Delirium. Got the album title in there and everything. We should be pretty much all set. The only thing that you need to notice here is over here where it says rates and format. Format is the type of audio file it is, which PCM16 or a WAV file is what we're looking for. But 48,000 sample rate is what we want. And you notice that the one that I imported here says 44,100, even though that audio conversion process took place. The reason for this is a quirk within the ENCO system. In order for this to be ready to actually play on the air, I have to first close down the DAD software here in the voiceover booth and open it back up. So once I'm done for the day importing what I wanted to import, I need to make sure that I close down the library and close down DAD. And when we come back and look in the alternative currents folder at this specific song, South of Reality, we should see that the rate has changed now to 48,000. So let's do that right now. Close down the CD ripper window, and actually close out of DAD completely. And this is another thing that you have to be patient about. Takes a second for everything to close down, and then in order to start things back up, I'm looking at this icon here that says DAD Network. So you double click and then you wait. You don't want to start multiple instances, it'll just confuse itself. So we'll let this run through all its different processes. And once we see the menu here, we're ready to go. So I hit the up arrow to access the menu, and then the library, look at my alternative currents, and then scroll down, sort by artist, and then find the Claypool Lennon Delirium. And there it is, South of Reality. So if I scroll over, I now have that desired 48,000 sample rate. So now this song should be ready to go. And that's how you upload things from a CD into the DAD software.